Tesla just launched a retro-futuristic diner with humanoid robots serving popcorn. Unitree kicked off its initial public offering to take on the global humanoid race. Figure unveiled a next-generation robot battery that crushes every performance metric. In China, they're about to host the first ever Olympics for humanoid robots. This isn't future talk, it's happening right now. Let's break down everything you need to know. So let's start in West Hollywood, California. Tesla just soft-launched their first ever diner. Yeah, a diner. Like burgers, shakes, roller skates, the works, but wrapped in a layer of pure tech and retro futurism. It's called the Tesla Diner, and it's sitting right there at 7001 West Santa Monica Boulevard. The whole setup looks like a circular spaceship landed straight out of the 1950s, but wired for 2025. Now this isn't some random roadside food joint. This was an idea Elon Musk floated all the way back in 2018, and now it's real. It blends that nostalgic American drive-in vibe with modern tech, and of course, superchargers. Tesla drivers can pull in, plug in their car to version 4 chargers, and while their battery refuels, they grab a burger, sip a shake, and watch a movie on one of 2 massive outdoor screens. And get this, the audio gets piped straight into your Tesla's speakers. But the real attention grabber? Optimus. That's right, Tesla's humanoid robot, which until recently we've mostly seen in factory demo videos, was actually at the event serving popcorn and having light conversations with guests.
I'm behind the counter at the Tesla Diner in Hollywood, ready to serve you some popcorn or answer any questions.
Yeah, full-on public-facing robot interaction, and apparently the movement and coordination were smooth. Not clunky, not awkward, but actual polished robotic behavior you'd expect from something in a science fiction film, except it's live. The soft launch wasn't open to the public. It was for Los Angeles first responders, Tesla Club SoCal, and a few VIPs. But the full public opening, that's happening Monday, July 21st, which also just so happens to align with Tesla's earnings call. Coincidence? Probably not. Strategically, it's a smart brand play. The food came in Cybertruck-themed boxes, naturally, and the parking lot wasn't just lined with Teslas, they had the unreleased Cybercab on display too. There was also limited edition merchandise for collectors, all-black Tesla-bought action figures, branded drinkware, all that. Oh, and they're going full retro with the experience. Food delivery by staff on roller skates. That's not just gimmick, it hits the nostalgia button for the drive-in generation, while giving younger Tesla fans a playful, almost theme park-like version of the brand. Now, speaking of bots showing up in public, let's move to China, because Unitree Robotics just took a major step forward. The Hangzhou-based startup officially kicked off its initial public offering process. And if you're not familiar with initial public offering procedure in China, the first big step is what they call the tutoring stage. That's when the company partners with a securities firm to prep all the listing paperwork and compliance docs. In Unitree's case, CITIC Securities is leading that, and they're aiming for a full submission in the 4th quarter of this year. But this isn't just about going public. This is Unitree signaling that they want to dominate the humanoid robotics race, and they're aiming to do it with serious backing. Tencent and Alibaba have both invested in Unitree's 10 funding rounds, and the company is now sitting on a valuation of roughly 10 billion renminbi. That's about 1.4 billion United States dollars. Not bad for a company that a few years ago was mainly known for its robotic dogs. Now they've pivoted hard into humanoids with the G-On robot, and while the G1's still in early trials, mostly factory floor testing, the industry in China is throwing weight behind it. Local governments are stacking subsidies and policies in place to nurture the sector, and Unitree is already racking up contracts, over 90 in fact, from universities and government clients across China, totaling nearly $5.4 million, and more than half of that came just in the past year. The timing couldn't be more strategic. Rival company Zhiyuan Robotics, the one behind Agibot, just pulled off an indirect listing on the Shanghai Stock Exchange by acquiring a majority stake in Swancore Advanced Materials. So Unitree clearly wants a piece of that capital market momentum before someone else corners the investor attention. Also, Unitree's founder Wang Xingxing still controls nearly 35% of the company. So even with big players like Tencent and Alibaba involved, there's still a founder-driven leadership model in place. That's a strong sign that Unitree wants to stay agile, with a vision that doesn't get diluted post-initial public offering. Now, from initial public offerings to power systems, let's get into something a lot more technical. Figure, the company behind the humanoid robot platform, just revealed their third-generation battery system, and it's called the F03. If you're into robotics hardware, this one's massive, not just an upgrade, but a full-on rebuild of their energy architecture from the ground up. So here's what makes it such a leap. The F03 battery delivers 2.3 kilowatt hours of energy, giving a humanoid robot up to 5 hours of runtime at peak performance. And it's not just more power, it's smarter, safer, faster to charge, and way more compact. They've basically ditched the clunky external battery backpack that earlier versions needed. Now the entire battery is integrated directly into the robot's torso thanks to massive improvements in volumetric and gravimetric energy density, up 94% since version 1. And safety? This might be the most rigorously designed robot battery out there. The F03 is built around a custom battery management system, or BMS, that monitors everything: temperature, charge, discharge, overcurrent, external shorts, you name it. There's also a multi-layer safety architecture with flame containment and anti-propagation mechanisms. So let's say a cell fails, goes into thermal runaway. F03 contains it. No flames shooting out, no thermal cascade. They did a test where they intentionally overcooked a cell until it blew, and still, no external flame escaped. That level of safety is rare, and it's one of the reasons this is the first humanoid robot battery in the world undergoing dual certification, both UN 38.3 and UL 2271 standards. And remember, there wasn't even a UL standard for humanoid robots before. Figure had to work with OSHA-accredited labs to help shape that benchmark. That tells you how far ahead they're thinking. And it's not just about the product, it's also about production. Figure moved all battery manufacturing in-house at BotQ, their battery facility. They scaled from expensive custom machining to high-volume, low-cost processes, die casting, injection molding, stamping, the whole 9 yards. This isn't just research and development, it's industrialization. They're aiming to produce batteries for up to 12,000 humanoids a year. That means their internal manufacturing flow, from ERP systems to MES and PLM, is already locked and running. If that scale sounds ambitious, it's because it is. Another thing they've nailed is making each component multifunctional. The enclosure of the battery, for example, is structural, made from stamped steel and die-cast aluminum, so it doesn't just hold the cells, it becomes a load-bearing part of the robot's frame. That saves mass, reduces complexity, and ups overall durability. And the cooling system? Fully integrated into the die-cast housing. It uses forced convection with active cooling and keeps things thermally balanced even during 2 kilowatt fast charging sessions. That's not trivial, especially when you're operating in the narrow thermal windows that high-performance robotics demand. They also cut the cost of the battery by 78% compared to the previous generation. That's massive, because cost per unit is one of the biggest barriers to humanoid robot scale. If they're serious about getting humanoids out of research and development labs and into real-world deployment, whether logistics, healthcare, or service, they need to control bill of materials costs tightly. F03 looks like a big step toward that. Alright, now let's move on to something that's as much culture as it is tech. China's gearing up to host the first ever World Humanoid Robot Games. Yeah, actual games, with medals and everything, and it kicks off August 14th in Beijing. This is more than just a public relations event. It's a 4-day showcase running through August 17th, where humanoid robots will compete in sports, performances, and live simulations. And this isn't your typical robotics conference with polished stage demos. These robots are going head-to-head in table tennis, basketball, badminton, real physical challenges. The fact that they're doing 21 events means these robots aren't just walking and waving. They're pushing coordination, balance, response time, and real-time computation to their limits. The official slogan? Game for the future, AI in motion. And it fits. This is China showing the world that they're not just building humanoid robots, they're giving them a cultural and competitive platform. Even the medals are on theme. The designs are super futuristic, robotic arms linked by a diamond-shaped AI chip. It's symbolic but also slick enough to be collectible. The announcement event took place at the Great Wall, the actual Great Wall, where robot teams carried symbolic energy cubes across landmarks, ending at the National Speed Skating Oval. That's where the Smart Core, a symbolic AI heart, will be lit during the opening ceremony. And just think about the visibility. This event's backed by the Beijing municipal government, China Media Group, and multiple high-level bodies, so it's not some niche gathering, it's a full-blown, state-sponsored demonstration of capability. It's about tech, sure, but also about showing how humanoids fit into society, even in sports, art, and human-adjacent roles. That's everything for now. From robot diners to billion-dollar initial public offerings and full-blown humanoid Olympics, the future isn't coming, it's already here. Make sure you're here for the next drop, subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.